Hi guys, I'm Stella. I talk about F1 on the internet every week, and today we're gonna be talking about a big F1 problem that for some reason no one's talking about, even though it deeply affects the drivers and the fans everywhere. So let's get to it. The people want Checo out.
I knew that in order to win her love, I needed to get rid of the human garbage, otherwise known as my best friends. Bonnie, how do you keep getting back in?
I'm a drunk. I don't know nothing about how I do anything.
Unless you are from South America, especially after Max's victory, which, congratulations, he definitely deserved it. The fact that Max has just won his 4th World Championship on a car that's definitely not dominant makes Checo's lacking a little bit more obvious to the public. I mean, if we check Checo's results throughout the year, you can see that it does not look good for him. We have 3 DNFs, a couple 17 places, and he's not even smelled the podium after Miami, which was round 6. And we are not about to go into 23, so shit's been bad.
10th place, 11th place, 17, 7, 10, DNF, 8, 6, 7, 7, 17, 7, 8, 2 DNFs in a row, 8, 4, 6, 3, 2, 5, 2, 2.
I mean, with these results, there's no wonder people want him out. It is what it is. Whether the car is as bad as people say or it's not, the fact is that one of the drivers just won a world championship and the other one can barely battle it out with the Haas, so something's very wrong here. However, despite the fact that he had an awful season, the people still want him to stay. Which people, you may ask? The people from South America. It's really not that hard to understand why everyone in Latin America desperately wants Checo to stay. We have only had a handful of Latin drivers in like 74 years that F1 has been going on, and it just makes so much sense. It's so freaking hard for anyone that is not European to be racing in F1. I mean, it is really freaking hard in general to race in F1, but especially if you are not European and if you are from a country with a weaker economy. You have to fly into Europe all the time, you have to pay for hotels, for planes, you just do not have the same opportunities to train, to test the racetracks. Overall, it's kind of a shit situation, and it is getting better, but still. But anyway, back to Checo. People who are not Latinos don't like Checo. And yes, I know, he's been shit this year. However, we have another example very recently of a driver who also sucked for the longest time, and people still loved him and people still wanted him to stay. And not only the Australians, we are talking about Daniel Ricciardo. A kiss to Danny from here. We do love Danny. But yeah, I was just thinking, why is that? Why does Danny have so many stands behind him and Checo has none other than his own people? And to be honest, I was one of these people that didn't like Checo very much. I was like, even while watching Drive to Survive, even while watching his interviews, there was just something that wasn't clicking for me.
From Mexico, it's Sergio Checo Perez!
Until I watched an interview of him speaking Spanish.
Sí, Susi, un gran piloto y bueno, demostrando, ¿no?, que las mujeres también pueden estar en este mundo tan difícil y bueno, ojalá y le pueda ir bien.
And it was like, duh. Drivers that do not speak English comfortably have a massive disadvantage in terms of fan support. And F1 is a tough sport, so it can definitely make it or break it, whether you are universally loved, completely ignored, or straight up disliked for anyone outside of your local market. We all know that drivers are not chosen only for driving skills. Same reason why usually drivers are pretty good looking. They are chosen in terms of marketability, the money they bring to the sport, and the people they get to be watching. It's almost like they're looking for talent, but also star quality. However, in the case of Checo and many other drivers like him, the fact that he can only market to his own people, it's a problem. It's not very desirable, especially if you come from a country, again, with a weaker economy. What are you doing? You took off your headphones. I'm gonna kill myself. Losing my mind. But yeah, that is why there's British bias and overall European bias, especially from countries that speak better English, which very conveniently are the same countries that have the most dough. Because even if they were only locally supported, those fans bring the coin. At the end of the day, F1 is a rich kid sport. You have to have money to participate and you must bring money in order to stay. And when I say rich, I don't mean Stroll rich necessarily. I mean that any middle-class family would struggle to support someone's junior F1 career. The amount of money that is required to race in F4, F3, or F2, it's just something that a regular family would never be able to afford, especially without very heavy sponsor support. I was actually very surprised to find out that drivers that I always thought were from humble beginnings, like Hamilton or even newcomer Colapinto, their families are relatively well off in comparison with other middle-class families in their areas. So is the mythos of a lower class F1 driver even alive? Yes, because we have Alonso. So yeah, there's not much to say about the money you have to put down to be able to participate, but there is a lot to say about the money you bring in. Because in order to bring in that money, you not only have to be a good driver, you need people to like you. You need to sell your merchandise, you need to be on campaigns, you need to be able to be on advertisements and have people buy whatever it is you're selling them.
Custom orders on Kraken, it's a lot like dialing in my car for race day.
And this is what I wanted to get to. This is where language politics come into play.
This is impressive. Now I'm coming on your camera, mate.
Yo, what?
Yeah. What you did?
Of course, English, universal language, lingua franca, we get it. But drivers that are not that comfortable speaking the language do not have an equal chance to charm the public. And my question is, with the amount of money that it's moving the sport, why don't they just invest in interpreters for the drivers so they can give interviews, answer questions, and overall do marketing in their own language? F1 is not all about racing, it never was, and things like this can actually make a massive difference. And on the same note, fans are also expected to speak English, or at least understand it, in order to engage with F1 content. Every time a team posts anything on YouTube, anything on Instagram, any show, interview, any piece of content, it's usually all in English, no subtitles, and sometimes not even closed captions. And I know, it feels really, really weird calling this out when I am making a video in English with no subtitles, but please, I am just a single person. I do not have the budget that these massive teams have. What I want to say with this is that it's not only a driver's problem, it is a fan's problem. It affects us. It really would not be that hard to hire people to translate content for subtitles. At the very minimum, for the language that your drivers speak. Like, come on, Williams right now, the amount of people from Argentina that are dying, seething to watch Colapinto content. If you check Williams' comments at any given time, there's people from Argentina asking for subtitles. And they just don't care. And I think it's kind of f***ed up. Making the content more accessible, at least to the people from the same countries as your drivers, can only be of benefit for them. So why are they just not doing that? Are they dumb? Like China. China has a lot of F1 fans, but imagine the amount of support they would get if Sauber started making Chinese content with zhou, or at the very least subtitling their content to Chinese. Even if F1 is already popular in China, having someone to root for and being catered to as a fan can only bring millions and millions of new potential watchers. F1 is a global phenomenon by now, and I think we need to be vocal and demand better treatment as fans. And all that being said, I'm gonna go touch some grass now. If you are an F1 fan from a non-English speaking country, please tell me your country and leave your thoughts in the comments, because I'm super curious to know if anyone else has been thinking about it the way I have. And if you like this rant, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.